Have you ever noticed that the smartest person in the room is often the quietest? While everyone else chases attention, approval, and constant connection, they quietly step away. Most people assume they're lonely. Some think they're antisocial. Others believe they're arrogant. But what if every one of those assumptions is wrong? Carl Jung believed there comes a point in psychological development where solitude stops feeling like punishment and becomes a necessity, not because you hate people, but because your mind begins searching for something the outside world cannot give you. Tonight, you'll discover why intelligent people are naturally drawn toward solitude, what your unconscious is trying to tell you, and why the ability to be alone may be one of the greatest signs of inner transformation. From childhood, you're taught that being surrounded by people is normal. Busy schedules, constant conversations, notifications, entertainment, noise. The modern world quietly convinces you that silence is something to escape. The moment you're alone, you're expected to fill the emptiness. You scroll. You watch. You listen. Anything except sitting quietly with your own thoughts. But Jung saw something most people never notice. He believed our greatest fear isn't loneliness. It's meeting ourselves, because the moment external noise disappears, the unconscious begins to speak. Questions you've ignored suddenly appear. Hidden emotions surface. Old memories return. Dreams become louder. Many people mistake this discomfort for loneliness. In reality, it's the beginning of self-awareness. Carl Jung spent decades studying dreams, myths, symbols, and the hidden layers of the human mind. He noticed an unusual pattern. The people who experienced the deepest psychological growth weren't constantly seeking distraction. They created space to observe, space to reflect, space to listen. The unconscious never shouts. It whispers. But whispers can only be heard when life becomes quiet. This is why intelligent people often value solitude, not because silence feels empty, but because silence becomes meaningful. Inside that quiet space, patterns become visible. You begin noticing emotions before they control you. You recognize habits you've repeated for years. You see fears hiding behind ambition. And for the first time, your life starts making sense. Have you ever left a crowded room feeling strangely tired? Not physically, mentally, emotionally, as if something invisible had drained your energy. Jung believed every social interaction requires psychological adaptation. Without realizing it, you wear different masks, a different personality at work, another around friends, another with family. He called this the persona, the social mask we wear to fit into the world. The problem isn't having a persona. The problem is forgetting who you are beneath it. The more intelligent and self-aware someone becomes, the more sensitive they become to this invisible performance. Constant social interaction begins to feel exhausting, not because people are bad, but because pretending is expensive. Eventually, solitude becomes the only place where no mask is required. No performance, no expectations, only the truth. Most people confuse these two words. Isolation is disconnection. Solitude is connection. Isolation leaves you empty because you've lost yourself. Solitude fulfills you because you've found yourself. One is fear, the other is freedom. Jung warned that escaping society out of bitterness creates psychological imbalance, but choosing temporary solitude to understand yourself creates psychological strength. This difference changes everything. The goal isn't avoiding humanity. It's returning to people without losing your identity. Only someone comfortable being alone can truly choose relationships instead of depending on them. That is freedom. Here lies one of Jung's deepest psychological discoveries. Every human being carries a shadow. Not evil, not darkness alone, but every part of yourself you've rejected. Your hidden anger, your forgotten creativity, your envy, your courage, your vulnerability, your untapped potential. Most people spend their entire lives running from these hidden parts. They stay busy, they stay distracted, they stay surrounded by noise, because silence reveals what distraction hides. The shadow doesn't appear in crowded rooms. It appears when you're finally alone with yourself. At first, that experience feels uncomfortable, sometimes frightening. But Jung believed this encounter is the doorway to individuation, the lifelong process of becoming your authentic self. Perhaps the greatest reason intelligent people seek solitude isn't to escape the world. It's to discover the person they've never fully met. And once that journey begins, nothing about the outside world looks the same again. The world often measures confidence by visibility. The loudest voice is mistaken for the wisest. The busiest person appears the most successful. The most social individual is assumed to be the happiest. But appearances can be deceiving. A person who values solitude is often misunderstood. Friends may think they've become distant. Family may worry they're unhappy. Colleagues may assume they lack ambition. Yet Jung suggested something different. As consciousness expands, your relationship with the world changes. You stop seeking approval as proof of your worth. Instead, you begin asking a more difficult question. Am I living according to my true nature, or merely the expectations of others? That question changes everything. When your identity no longer depends on constant validation, spending time alone stops feeling like a sacrifice. It becomes a return to yourself. This is why solitude is so often misunderstood. From the outside, it looks like withdrawal. From the inside, it feels like awakening. Think about humanity's greatest ideas. They rarely emerge in the middle of noise. The most profound insights often arrive during a quiet walk, a sleepless night, a peaceful morning, or a moment of reflection when the world finally becomes still. This isn't a coincidence. The unconscious mind connects ideas that the conscious mind cannot see, but those connections require space. When life is filled with endless conversations, constant notifications, and uninterrupted stimulation, the mind has little room to wander. In solitude, something remarkable happens. Thoughts begin to organize themselves. Memories reveal new meaning. Questions lead to unexpected answers. What once seemed like confusion slowly transforms into clarity. Jung believed that symbols, dreams, and imagination are not distractions from reality. They are bridges to a deeper understanding of it. Many of your greatest insights will not come when you're searching for them. They will arrive when you finally become quiet enough to receive them. Perhaps Jung's greatest contribution to psychology was the idea of individuation. It is not about becoming perfect. It is not about becoming superior to others. It is the lifelong process of becoming fully yourself. Most people spend years building an identity that earns acceptance. Few spend time discovering the identity that already exists beneath those expectations. Individuation asks you to confront your fears instead of hiding them, to acknowledge your weaknesses instead of denying them, to embrace your strengths without arrogance, to integrate the parts of yourself you've rejected. This journey cannot be completed through constant distraction. It requires reflection. It requires honesty. And above all, it requires moments of genuine solitude. The path inward is rarely comfortable, but it is the only path that leads to lasting peace. You don't need to disappear into the mountains to experience the power of solitude. You only need a few quiet moments each day. Try this simple exercise. Sit somewhere without your phone, music, or distractions. Close your eyes, take a slow breath, then ask yourself, what emotion have I been avoiding? Don't force an answer. Simply observe. Notice what thoughts arise, what memories return, what feelings make you uncomfortable. Resist the urge to judge them. Instead, become curious. Curiosity transforms fear into understanding. Over time, you'll begin to notice patterns you've never seen before. You may discover that your greatest insecurity has been guiding your decisions, or that your deepest desire has been quietly waiting beneath years of expectation. This is how self-awareness grows, not through dramatic moments, but through consistent attention. Perhaps the greatest misunderstanding about solitude is that people believe it separates you from life. In reality, meaningful solitude reconnects you with it. It allows you to hear the quiet voice beneath the noise. the voice that knows what truly matters. Carl Jung believed that the greatest journey is not across continents or through achievements. It is the journey inward. Because the person you become in private shapes the life you create in public. So the next time you find yourself alone, don't rush to escape the silence. Listen to it. Within that silence may be your fears, but it may also contain your wisdom, your purpose, your creativity, and the version of yourself that has been waiting patiently to be discovered. The world will always encourage you to look outward, but transformation begins the moment you have the courage to look within. If this documentary made you see solitude in a new way, let me ask you one final question. When was the last time you truly spent time with yourself, without distraction? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy exploring Carl Jung's psychology, the unconscious mind, shadow work, and the timeless journey of self-discovery, subscribe and join us for future documentaries. Until next time, stay curious and never stop exploring the hidden world within.